Okay, now we're going to mount a leaping bobcat with a quail in his paw, and he's on a base. And I'll show you how we make the base and mount the quail and do the open mouth and all that stuff. Well, kind of doing a pre-fit. The jaw fits in there good, but it looks like I'm gonna have to shave down on this upper jaw, and it don't meet back here very good. So basically what takes care of that is some shaving. And I want to make sure I don't do this or do that. I want to make sure I center it pretty good and shave off what I need to be shaved. And that's going to take a little while. Not to mention the flashing up here and all this stuff. That could be shaved down or sanded down. And of course the mouth fit real good. Now some of the older forms, the older bobcat forms, fox and coyote forms, all this is styrofoam and you have to Dremel it all out. But you can do it. What I do is I've got reference pictures of it already Dremeled out with the mouth installed. So I know how far the teeth need to hang down and everything. And it helps me, you know, if I have a form where I've got to Dremel the foam out. And what they'll do, they'll usually cut the lower jaw off. Then that way they can get up underneath and Dremel as far down as they need to in the upper part of the mouth, as well as the lower jaw. They can do it while it's off the form. And they can cater it. I mean, they can make it fit real good. And some of the best mounts I've done are ones where it wasn't already made for the insert. And, you know, in other words, it was just straight foam across. Some of my best coyotes I've done have been that. But just wanted to show that to you. Of course, there's a lot of sanding here and there. All this can be sanded. All this, all that. All this can be sanded off. Make sure the head fits good. And then I'm kind of contemplating, I'm studying. Depending on the cat and the form, my best mode. I think my best mode first, I'd like to put the front body in and the head, have it in there all together, and then just drop this down in there. And then I'm hoping it can meet, like right here. That's what my goal is. That's what I'm hoping. So it's going to be interesting to see how I get this done. Okay, what I got here is literally a temporary base, if you can even call it that. And the reason I got it here, I think I've actually used this before for a bobcat. I really do. Yeah, in other words, I mounted the leaping pose more than once. Kind of like the howling coyote. I've done that pose more than once. And sometimes if I've got temporary bases, I'll save them. I'm going to make an incision above these paws. And a lot of people just go straight down the paw, which is fine. But to me, it looks a little fake. Something about the feet just looks, I don't know, it doesn't look right. I try to go towards the front of the paw, you know, like right in here. It seems like it helps. As far as realism, I do think it looks better. I don't know if it makes it like he's more springing a little bit more, but it does look better to me. So I'll tend to go, you know, like towards the front of the padding. And I guess I could also even go into the skin in front of the patty. Go just a little, not too far. I mean, while we're at it, go ahead and do the front legs as well. And it don't matter on these, it doesn't have to be really big. Since we're not going to have access to the bottom of the feet anymore, you know, after we get him standing up and stuff and working on him, might not be a bad idea to go ahead and throw some caulk in these feet while we're at it, you know, through the incision. With, you know, really trying to get it, you know, up where the toes are. You know, not too much. But you definitely want to know there's a presence there. There's a little bit. That's how the foot's swelling up. Just kind of keep in mind how much it's swelling up. And this stuff's silicone based, so it's not going to do as much shrinking as, like, say, regular caulk. Get those toes real good and get where you think it looks relatively okay already, I guess you could say, without being too much. And that should be good enough. You just stick that through there. You can always work it down a little bit. Yeah, there's a little streak of kind of like dark hair, kind of like a little bit of a, you know, right there along the back of the leg. I don't know what you would call it, like a little, almost like a mane, I guess. And what it is, it's where the back of the leg is. A lot of times I'll pin that just to make sure it doesn't drop down or anything. Keeps everything from dropping down. We're going to put a lot more pins. Basically, it's for the sake of gravity. That's why I like to use it. Well, here's kind of what we got so far. Part of it, and of course we already got him on the base and got stuff in his feet. We'll work that stuff out a little bit later. I showed it on the other one, you know, the closed mouth video. Right in here, if you wanted to tuck a little bit, it wouldn't be wrong. And what I mean by tucking a little bit is, you know, dremeling that out a little. You know, where you can tuck skin. This don't need it because look how far out it is. But this one definitely, yeah, I mean, if you need to tuck, you've got it. Well, I already checked. This upper body's going to fit nicely because I guess the arms are just kind of forwards. And they just kind of sleeve on. So I don't have to really cut anything. But now I'm going to work on getting the head in first. Well, here's what I got for the jaw. Had to do a lot of shaving. I'm going to have to fill in those corners with clay or epoxy sculpt, looks like. But I wanted the head to meet up, and the best way I get the head to meet up is about like that. And here's what I got from the front. So I think it's going to be okay. Another neat thing about these fake jaws, you know, they got little holes, and then they got little, kind of like little dowel things that stick out. And so you just smash it together, and they fit relatively good. And that's how you put it in your mouth. And then, of course, you got your tongue in there. Now, what I got here is this: how to install an artificial jaw set. In this case, it's a coyote. And this is if it's not already dremeled out, you know, so you can just glue in a jaw set. As you can see, it's you cut along the lower jaw And if you do it like that, you'll be fine. I use this reference to do my coyotes and my foxes both. It lets me know how far down the teeth are and how much gum shows. And then I use live reference, you know, for some other pigs. Okay, now this has got plastic over it, but this is what I use for my open mouth cats. It shows me, you know, how the lip lies, you know, right before you get to those, the bottom sharp teeth at the bottom. You can see how the lip kind of knurls up right there. Well, I incorporate all that. See how it knurls out over the side on the bottom lip? I incorporate that in too. And I use this as a reference. I use this for my nose color reference. And then I can use my Bobcat for, like, there's a little brown streak that goes right above the nose. But you can see a little bit on this cougar as well. So these are good references. And install the lower head first. It might could go in from the front, I don't know. A lot of times it's guesswork just getting this stuff together, you know. Here it is. That's in there. It's in there good enough, we'll say that. I mean, I've done the measurements. Everything checks out. But I'm still kind of, I may have to make I don't know if I got to make the incision longer, but I have done that before. Sometimes it saves a whole lot of headache. Sometimes it's you know, between sawing something off or cutting a longer incision, I'd rather cut a longer incision. Yeah, it's going to definitely fit. There's no doubt about it. Okay, the paw goes around like that. Let's see. Go like that. You can see it's already kind of fitting anyway. I've got to pull it up a little. I mean, it's an exact fit, so I wouldn't say exact, but pretty darn close. Well, you can kind of see what's going on. Got the paw on. Sometimes I'll put steel rods in there. But this glue might be good enough just by itself. Okay. I got my clay and I'll just fill in these little gaps. Well, heck, it fits so good, I just pulled it back out. That way I can just glue it straight on there. I don't have to worry about nothing. Just throw some glue on there. That's some hard glue right here now. It's not going to mess around. Some pretty stout stuff. And it just goes on like that. Some super strong stuff here. It's a little better than what I've been used to using. Sure is. Here again, you can fill in your gaps with a little clay, you know. Here's kind of what I got for the eyes. Looks okay. I just went through from the front. There we are. Perfect fit. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but I can get to it with my glue gun. You can see I got plenty of room to go ahead and glue everything and be perfectly fine. And of course I use my Dremel tool to drum out the nostrils and all that stuff. I guess a person could paint these jaws. This is technically considered unpainted, but yeah, it's technically considered unpainted. But it kind of looks a little bit painted. But a lot of times I'll put a little bit of yellow at the base of the teeth. The teeth are always yellow on bobcats. They've always got yellow teeth. So I'll probably incorporate some yellow in there. The gums look fairly good. I may go back with a little bit dark brown. I've seen people use black on the lips and everything. A lot of it, I'll just wait until I'm kind of done with it. Finish it after it dries and everything. Between the first and second teeth, you know, from the front, that kind of looks neat. So we're going to incorporate all that stuff in. Yeah, a lot of times people use black around the base of these. If you do, use good reference. I see a lot of people let some of the pink come through up here, and then just, I think dark brown would be good. Dark brown is what I usually use for the guns and all that stuff. But I have seen people use black. Black looks really good because it's a dark and makes a real good contrast. Sometimes before I glue, I want to make sure I got plenty of tucking room. And yeah, I got plenty of tucking room. Back here, I can do all my gluing right back here. See the side here and all that, and then just glue my gum line in, or my teeth in, I mean. Put a little there. Oh, here we are. Get some on this gum line here. As long as it's in the back, that's the main thing, I think. Okay, that'll go here. That'll go there. Make sure it's even up front. And it is. Well, apparently that glue gun don't take long to work. We'll just pull everything back. Here we are. Line everything up with the eyes. And I'll make sure I got overkill as far as skin for the face. I sure do. I make sure I've got plenty. Make sure these little hair things are going to be up where they need to be, you know, before I start pinning up the back. A lot of times what I'll do, I'll go ahead and use this seam to go ahead and you know where to pin my bobcat at, because I cut it straight down the middle anyway on the back. Let's see, it's got one big old hole on this side. For sure does. So I'm thinking right here would be a good place for one. You know, a good pin. And you can go ahead and, you know, like put your hide paste down through there. But you've seen all this on the other one. Glue on this other side here. Glue that in real good. All right. Well, as you can see, I got up the back pretty good. Just with some pins, I made sure I had a bunch of loose skin up front so I can. So these will come forward, these little tufts of fur on the side. Definitely want those. Got plenty of skin for that. And the eyes got plenty of room, plenty of tucking room. So that's what you want. Okay, now I've got my 2-part epoxy sculpt, and I want to mix that stuff together. Now what we're going to do, see the gap there? I intentionally did this so you can see it. I've got a little bit of a gap there, and I want to fill that in with epoxy sculpt, and do that on both sides. And later what we're going to do, we're going to tuck in the inside corner of the mouth and start doing some pinning and stuff right there, you know, just to keep it in place so it dries. And with the epoxy sculpt, we'll end up using it again later during the finishing process to take care of any places where the skin may have, you know, may not have been enough, or just where you might need to blend it in, you know, just like we do with the eyes. You know, any place where the eyelid gets away from the eye, we'll fill in with that epoxy sculpt. So it's the same thing as far as modeling in areas to make, you know, where the skin transitions into the gum line or whatever. You get what I'm saying. Just kind of mix it in, and it's part of the finishing process. So, I'll get started on that. Yeah, we just keep on working this stuff down, using a little bit of lacquer thinner on it. Get it real good and soft and pliable so we can use it to model, you know, model in places. In this case, well, I guess we could use clay, but I don't know. I just like the idea of using epoxy sculpt. You know, it gets hard and it doesn't shrink as bad, and it doesn't crack and want to fall out or anything. And as I'm working this modeling tool, I'm getting up there and just filling it in the gap basically, and we'll get the excess off here in just a little bit. And I really want that transition between the upper and lower mouth to, you know, really look kind of good, so I tend to spend a little extra time there. Try to get it where you can see. Put a lacquer thinner on a Q-tip and start trying to work this stuff in. Maybe some of the bigger stuff back here. Get it worked in real good. Smoothing it out. Right here on the inside. Try to do it where you can see it, but it may be hard, but let me see what I can do here. You still need a little bit more. You use a modeling tool or whatever you got on hand. Here I've got my X-Acto knife. I can do a lot with an X-Acto knife. I can use that point and get down in finite areas. I use my Q-tip. My finger can't get in there, of course. So we got this going on. Got that going on. Smoothing that out, make it look like a natural transition of the form. I think that looks pretty good to me. I think that's pretty natural. Same thing to the other side. Just make everything kind of blended in. I generally like to take it back as far as I can. I think I'm right pretty much close to where I glued it. I'm pretty darn sure. Yeah, just right there. The rest of this can go on the inside even. There we are. Get it to stay at least. We can get it in with that lacquer thinner on a Q-tip. Seems to take care of everything. Got this right here. And we got that right there. That will take care of that. Yeah, that'll work. I take it back as far as I can within reason. You know, obviously you can't get all the way back in there, but nobody's ever going to see it. We can just kind of model it in there. I'll even use my finger occasionally, and it's a free tool, your finger, so I'll use that sucker. Good thing this epoxy sculpt, it dries really good and hard, and it don't shrink relatively much at all, really. In fact, because it don't shrink much, I have painted right over it. I mean, instantly. You know, like on my deer, I do it quite frequently. It may not be the best thing to do, but I do know that it has almost virtually no shrinkage. Well, here's kind of what we got. Of course, on that side as well. I've got a brush here, or heck, even a Q-tip. Just get some of that powder off from around the eyes. This stuff right here, Killer Glue 2-part epoxy. It's pretty good stuff. Got a little piece of cardboard and bent it up on the sides and mixed the 2-part epoxy together. I just use a little bit, you know, a modeling tool or something, and try to get as close to the eye as you can get. Yeah, you definitely want to do that. Go all the places where it's going to be any kind of indentation and all that. You know, if you wanted to, you could put it just, you know, all over if you wanted to, but I like to, I'm a little bit more reserved with it. It's super strong stuff, but I do want to make sure it's where it needs to be. You know, no doubt about that. We're going to be shifting skin. We want it shifting and pinning skin, and we want it to stay where it needs to stay. So that feel free to take that for what it's worth. Now this stuff, it tends to ooze and drip down, and it's going to get on the eyes. So I know where the general shape of the eye is. And well, yeah, I mean, I've showed you this already as far as the you know, the other video, the closed mouth bobcat. The only thing different here is I'm not going to be pinning the mouth, but I'm going to be pinning the gum line instead of the mouth. And I'm not going to be using any pins that are going to stay. I mean, I'm not going to use any, you know, pushing any pins per se on the head. Unless I have to, but I don't think so. I think all I need is T-pins, stuff that, you know, so we're going to be in good shape. I start on this eye and do the same thing. Some on the nose. Get it ready for the old tucking, you know. The stuff gives you plenty of time to work with it, but it will get hard eventually. So you can't just like go out and do something else, you know, run into an emergency and go do something else. You come back and it's a mess on your hands. Kind of goes with anything, I mean, as far as this. I mean, you're always battling time. I mean, you're battling hair slippage. You know, you want to make sure you don't have hair slippage. things getting hard on you before you get a chance to use them. You got to worry about all that stuff. So you've got some stuff to worry about there. Now a lot of times I'll reach in with my fingers and get like below the eye and around all in here and all that. I don't want to put any right here because I work the whiskers, and that glue is going to glue the whisker quills, I guess you could say, the whisker hairs, the follicles. It glues the follicles, so I don't want to do that. I think this one I went into the glue, where I glued it together. It's going to be a little hefty. There we are. Came apart. Okay, then right here we got one. I know you can't see it, but basically just pulling pins out. Now what I want to do, I want to try to pull this forwards without smearing that glue everywhere. If I can keep from it. I got like 2 pieces of, I guess you could call it 12 gauge wire. And I want to find that, right now I'm starting to align everything. So there's one. It's in there pretty good. Probably tap it in there if you wanted to if you want to get it a little farther. Okay, now we got to work on the eyes. It's a little bit of a stretch, for the eyes to go where they need to go. I may use a little bit of maybe a T-pin to get it there. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And I want to do the same thing to the other side. Yeah, this stuff's messy. It tends to get everywhere and a lot of places where you don't want it to go. That's all right. That's a small price to pay, to have a good mount. Okay. Now we start shaping the eyes as good as we can. They go that way. Sometimes you can get these eyelids going down, That's a good thing, to get these eyelids going down. Well, you see, it's starting to come together. A lot of these tufts of hair right here, I had a lot of loose skin on the back. I thought, well, maybe it's just a small bobcat form. But then I started pulling all this forward right here, and it drew this up in the back. So it's actually a better fit than what I thought. Pulling all the skin forward to make sure these have what they got to have. Now, I think in the past, I've actually not even had the mouth installed. And not really snapping it together even. And tucking my lips first and then putting the mouth in. I think that's what I've done before. But right here on the inside corners, that's what we're wanting to go in first. So I just got these pins so you could see pretty much. And plus I can put a little glue on there too if I want to. So this is kind of what we got going on. I could probably force it and get this out and then just put each, the top in first and then maybe put the bottom one in and put the tongue in. Give me a lot of room to tuck. Don't come to think of it. Yeah, I'll be fine. Well, you can kind of see from here what we got to do. All this space right up in here is going to have the skin tucked around it. And I'm going to use glue and pins to do this. Now the upper, I don't know if I need to trim some of this off or not. I can just kind of like trial fit to see how good it fits, though. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, it goes way up in there. Okay, we're good. I'll pull it back out and start gluing, or putting some glue up in there. Okay, back to that picture again I showed you earlier. You can see why people would use black almost instead of dark brown, really. I tend to use dark brown, but you could use black. But here, see, I've got my teeth color, the way my lip tucks, everything is showed right here. It's basically the same mouth pose as this. So, and see that color of the nose, the way it's got that distinct color? This is what I use for my nose color reference. And I can even paint some around, on some of the gum line even with this to tone it in. And then it looks like I've got a little bit of dark brown at the base of the teeth. And then, yellow stain with a little bit of white on the end. And so I've got all the reference I need to paint my teeth, paint inside the mouth, and my nose, positioning of lips, everything in just one picture. It's all I need. Okay, I'll try to do this where you can see it. I've got my 2-part epoxy killer glue again. And I just want to get in there. And when I push the skin up here, it's going to smear it up in there. Basically the same concept I do, like when I do my deer. I'll put some in the inside corner here. Yeah, I could go ahead and take the teeth out, but eventually I'm going to need the teeth anyway for the lip line. So it's kind of a little bit of a kind of debating process there. Okay. Push this back a little. Not much, though. I think I shouldn't have snapped them together. They got little snapping spots where you can snap them together. Well, I didn't have to really do that. I could have left them loose and independent of each other. And I've mounted animals that way, with them just loose and independent of each other. And everything looked pretty good. It really put some on this inside corner. Not only on the inside, but the outside as well. But I tend to stay off the whisker area as much as possible because, well, I want to work those whiskers as it dries. Now I'm going to get the bottom mouth too. They've got plenty of room on the bottom mouth. Got my little tucker here. I want to go directly in the inside corner of the mouth. I want to do that first. I'll do that on both sides. Get that inside the corner of the mouth and tuck it up in there. That's probably not going to hold without pins. So I get two of the longest pins I've got. It wouldn't have to have longer. These ought to get the job done. Let's see on this edge. Now, as you can see in this picture, the lower lip doesn't completely lay on the inside. You know, some of it's on the outside. The upper is a little bit different story, but it tends to ride right there on that little section right there, if you follow what I mean. I'll try to show you. Now, the inside corners, you know, that's good. I'm going to go ahead and tuck that and then pin it. So I've got my So we'll be using a little bit of reference picture here. This goes right here. I definitely could tuck some of this right here. I mean, cut some of it off in front. Because there's no space for that. So, I mean, I'm going to leave a little tucking room, of course, but not much. Well, just enough to get the job done. Rather have too much than not enough skin. Let's see what we got going on here now. Okay. See what we got up top here. There's the okay, that goes there between the teeth. It goes there. See, right in there. Now these lips, they really just ride kind of just, you don't want them completely tucked in. See, with a closed mouth, you ain't got to worry about all this. But with these, you do. That'll work. If it gets in the way, I can snip it off. I do that a lot when I do my coyotes and everything else. Sometimes you can just get in there and then bend, but not always. Okay, I want to get the inside corner of the mouth on the other side. You kind of using my reference picture. The top doesn't show too much. It's the bottom that everything starts showing. I get about where the upper lip is. And then I poke through some foam. Okay. I'll go ahead and tuck this side over here. And trying to be symmetrical, using my reference picture. To keep everything, all these markings up here symmetrical. It's hard to see from an angle. Hold on. Well, you can see from this way, you can see how everything is kind of So on this side I haven't tucked it yet. And you can see the lips hanging out a little bit. So I'm going to throw a few pins in there. Go around here and throw a few pins in there. And the inside corner of the mouth, I got it good from the top. And the bottom, this lower lip kind of just rides. It rides along the side. You can see this little part right here. This rides in front of this tooth right here. And then through here, it's very shallow. Don't need a lot to tuck. And but that lower lip, it shows. So this is kind of what I've got going on. As far as the upper lip, that's kind of what I come up with. Just, you want it more on the inside. You want it to show a little bit. But you want it more on the, I like doing it a little bit more on the inside. Lower lip's a little bit different though. I'm kind of hoping the lower lip goes a little bit quicker. Of course, we got to do the tuck in here in the front. And reference material is real important here, that's for sure. That's what we want, is something like this. That's what we've got these long T-pins for. Although it wouldn't hurt to have longer T-pins, that's for sure. If I wanted to, I could snip all them pins and have all kinds of room to work on this lower lip. Okay, I'm going to try to get that overall general shape of the lower mouth and try to get exact. It's not too extreme on this pose. And I'm going to stick with this one instead of the other one. I'm probably going to wait until the cat's dry before I decide to put the bird on. And in the meantime, I can go ahead and be working on these claws, getting them to stick out. Same thing with this one. Go ahead and get inside. We put them holes earlier. Now, a lot of times I don't even super glue these paddings. I just get a little bit of caulk and put over there and smoothen it off, after it's dried. So even there you got a few little options and stuff. Now I can kind of work this in there. That foot looks really good already. I also want to start extending the claws. So I get right behind, that first little knuckle. And then basically you just work these out. In a few days, plus you can work a little caulk up in there. This is why I hadn't put the bird on yet. I know I kind of want these claws to kind of show a little bit. Actually, it's probably not a bad idea to go ahead and super glue it. That way I ain't got to worry about it coming back out. It's a good looking claw though. Just keep working those over the next few days, and even this one can kind of, I don't know, about like this. Do this one the same way. Make sure he's all lined up good and everything. Make sure everything's where it needs to be. Hair patterns, not only on the body, but on the face as well. Even on the face, the whiskers, you want them pretty close. The ears, I know they're a little bit wobbly. I'll put them in place later. Pretty much everything that I've done, like on the closed mouth, you do it on the open mouth the same way. The only thing is that was a closed mouth. And so there's a little bit difference. So, and the same thing on this Bobcat as with the other one. You've got all your pins. I pin instead of sew. And either way will work. A lot of times I've sewed them so far and then pinned the rest away. But, yeah, I would definitely, I'm going to pin it. And I just make sure I don't try to mat down any hair under the pin heads or anything. And go about 1/4 inch apart, just like I did on the closed mouth. And after that, I make sure I blow dry it. That way you don't see where it's been pinned or anything. You want to do it as soon as you do it, even before he's dry. That's what you want to do. Okay, you can kind of see I've got pins along the back, just like I did on the closed mouth Bobcat. A little bit of a hole right there, and I've got it taken care of. I looked at a reference picture to make sure this wasn't too far forward. I had some slight wrinkles right there. And I was at the bottom. The top part was okay, but at the bottom I was kind of coming in too close to the lower jaw with it. So I moved that back some, but I still want it to come forward. You just want to keep the eyelids in place and ensure that they don't like go up or anything. Like nothing worse than having eyelids that are going backwards, or up or something. As far as the mouth, I did a little better tuck in. Made sure that all the stuff that I had to tuck is on the right side of the teeth. So I didn't cover the teeth up. And even these things that come up on the side of the teeth, I made sure those are good. See how they kind of come up, and there's a little groove there, about where my fingernail is. You can see that groove going up in there. I got that on both sides. I tried to even get that kind of even on, at the front. And I got a little stuff on this one tooth that'll come off. That's a little Mod Podge. A little Mod Podge on this tooth right here. Killer glue, I'm sorry. And these are kind of level. It's hard. The camera wants to do a little foreshortening, but yeah, it's kind of level. So I think it's going to look good. I may have to do a little bit more work on the ears, but I think he looks okay. So that's pretty much what it's about. Working these whiskers forwards. Pretty much anytime you do something a little bit different to make it look good, it can be anything. But if you spend the time, eventually you're going to have him looking a lot better than what he was originally going to look. If you just find little things here and there that you could do to make it look a little better. Now the tongue is a little far back because of pins. I got so many pins in there I can't get it forwards. But as soon as I take all my pins out, I'll move that tongue forwards and glue it in place. And probably the jaws too if I need it, but they may already be secure. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a base for my Bobcat. And if you look right here on the end, it's pretty darn flush. And then out here, I've got 17 inches, pretty darn close. And I actually use a measuring tape to make the mark, and then I come back with this ruler. But what I'm getting at is I'm going to use this. Okay, we'll see the bottom. I got another line down here, and I want it out 17 too. Because I'm just going 17 by 22, no octagonal base or none of that stuff. Well, I hope you can see that. It is I've got my rectangle. Okay, now for the rest, I usually do it I get closer by eyeball instead of just like measuring the same length over and over again and getting slight discrepancies. I go ahead, try to eyeball everything. Match these corners up here real good. Now we cut that sucker. I think I've got some screws that are too long, but I've also got some screws that are really too short. I think these are about perfect though. Like this screw right here. I'm going to use screws instead of nails. But this screw right here, a little bit too long. It may go through the plywood. But it doesn't matter because it's just going to have coverage on the side that's, you know, where the animal's going to be. It probably doesn't matter a whole lot. Plus, you could just snip it off with a pair of bolt cutters. I think I've got enough of these right here. I think when they sink down, they're almost not going to be long enough, you know, to seep down that wood to really hold. But that doesn't bother me because, you know, if you got one that's too long, you know, you can drill the hole, back it out, and then just cut that little piece off and then use it again. I mean, it doesn't have to be a point on the end as long as you've already got your hole drilled with your screw. Just snip it off with a pair of bolt cutters and it'll fit. You know, maybe on this one, maybe just a 1/4 of an inch or so. Something like that, where it'll still sink through the wood to hold. But I've done that many a times. Just cut the end of it off with a pair of bolt cutters or something. And you can get whatever you're working on done without having to run to the store or to the hardware store. You know, if it's late at night or something, you can still get your project done. You can countersink your hole so your screw can go down farther. It'll take a lot longer, but I mean, not really. If you know where you're going to put your screws, go ahead and countersink. You know, like maybe with a bigger drill bit or something. So your screw can go down farther and go through your piece of wood, you know, your plywood for your base. So there's little tricks you can do to get around screw links if you don't have the right screws or the right nails. Well, I'm doing some of the countersinking. You know, using a drill bit to go down so far. You know, an oversized drill bit. It's working okay. Whatever works, right? And as you can see, it's working good. Nice and flush. Using this as a straight edge to make sure I don't get a little bit off center. And that's pretty good. Now we just turn around and do the other side. We can put a couple more screws through there if we want to really make sure it's good and secure. You know, I just got 2 screws in it. Okay, so now, obviously this is going to be the bottom. There's one I don't have to countersink here on the bottom, so that's good. Now match up my corners real good. Make sure my straight edge is right up against my piece of wood. And I mash down real hard where nothing wants to move. Grab my drill bit. Sink that sucker in. I'm going to countersink a little bit for some of these slightly short screws. You know, maybe less than a 1/4 of an inch too short. Right there, looks like about right there. Try to go straight down with it. And use my little leveling straight edge here. Okay, that's pretty straight all the way across. And I hold down real hard. There we are. Perfect. Okay, you got to shoot some screws in from the top. Now these are like super short, and they're not going to go all the way through the wood, so that's all right. And I just want to cinch them down real good and tight and draw that wood up to the plywood. You don't want no gaps if you can keep from it. And you need to do it all the way around. You just want to look underneath and make sure you don't get close to one of your other screws already. And you just go all the way around like that. Yeah, I think my goal is not to have any space. You know, you don't want to see any daylight. I mean, if you can do that, that's better. And let's see, we got this side. If you see right here, you see it's flush up against the wood. And the corners match up relatively, well, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah. What it is, we got to put molding trim around it. Stuff that they use on the bottom of walls of houses. And so we want these corners nice and flush. You know, some of that is where the wood kind of bows out a little bit from the top. It should be pretty darn even. So this is kind of what we got. And now we're going to start putting the molding trim on. What I like to do is kind of custom fit each side, just to make sure it's as close as it can get. So I'll put a marker right here. And I'll leave myself a little extra room so I can cut my edges. And a sharp pencil will get you a lot closer than some of your other stuff out there. Okay, I cut off short pieces at a time. You know, I want to make sure I got enough to do that. But it's just easier for me to work with, you know, instead of trying to work with a big old long piece of wood. I've got my 1 5/8 finishing, my 1 5/8 paneling nails. They call them panel nails. 1 5/8 panel nails. So I'm going to go ahead and just pre-start some of these guys so I'm not hammering so hard, you know, sideways. I think I've got this one pretty much spot on. So I go down. I know I've got I've got at least 1 inch and some, and even more where I can, I'll go down maybe up from the bottom about 1/2 inch. I want them going straight down, and this is a good way to do it. Just make sure you hit the nail head on. Try not to damage this wood because this is going to be your outside. And what we'll do, we'll cover these holes. We'll sink these nail holes in, cover it with wood filler, and it'll look just like a little knot in the wood, and it'll barely be noticing. And after you stain it, the stain will continue. It seems like the stain gets a little darker. Over time, it'll get darker and darker, and the little hole that you covered with the wood filler, it starts to match better and better as it gets darker and darker. It's weird, but it seems to do that. As good as possible on the bottom and everything. And get right here on the corner as good as you can. That's pretty good on that side. We can start that. Let's see what we got going on here. The wood is a little off underneath. We're going to put those little things like that go on the bottom of tables and chairs and stuff. Just to kind of, so it doesn't rough up their floor or something, you know. I mean, I don't always even do that, but sometimes it's not a bad idea. Get as far down as you can without, you know, damaging the wood too bad. Oh, this is not going to be fun. That's pretty good. That's how you do it. And then we'll get a little punch and then pop them in and then cover them with wood filler. A good idea. Go ahead and put my table legs on. That way I don't have to be super accurate. I mean, I can be accurate on the sides, but don't have to worry so much about the bottom, I think. You know, I can line that up and eyeball it. Okay, got my little table leg things, and I just tap them in. I don't have any wood glue, but I got some Gorilla Glue, and this stuff is strong. Just put some along the little nail there, and then stick it down in there. and then pop the rest of the way down. Tap it flush. I dremel down about 1/4 of an inch or so, just to kind of mark and kind of set my holes a little bit. I put this little bit of Gorilla Glue on here. You just let it flush. They ain't gonna come out. Now we're gonna go off to the other side here. And now it's perfectly even, you know, relatively speaking. And I can eyeball it and should be able to get pretty good. Main thing I'm worried about is getting them corners to flush up with my miter saw. Cut it down with a jigsaw so I'm not, you know, fighting a big old long piece of wood. And don't really have room in my shop to do that. But from the inside out, I'm on a 45-degree angle, which these miter saws are good for. And you can even get those kinds, you know, you can get those little miter boxes. They're a lot cheaper than like one of these. This is just a pawn shop special. That's probably why it's a little bit messed up. But I want to match it where I know. I'll even move the blade a little bit so I can get right on there. If anything, I'd rather be a little bit long than a little bit short. And you see how it puts the awesome 45-degree angle, and right here on my mark, right here on my pencil mark. It's a good piece. See up here at the top, my pencil mark? So then you do the other side. The other side, since my miter saw is messed up, I have to turn it upside down and do it. But it's the same thing. You just got to be real careful with it. You'd rather cut it slightly too long and then you can shorten it down or whatever. Well, the edges match up perfect. I really done a fine job on this guy. And well, you can just go all the way around like this. But I got a little piece of wood that splintered off and stayed on the other piece of wood. And I guess it's where not running my miter saw all the way through. And, you know, maybe letting go of the miter saw button too early. And this piece was still on the other piece of wood. And I noticed it, and so I just broke it off and glued it back on here. And I'm not going to have to try to fill up a big old chunk of wood with a wood filler to try to make it match. So I just glued it back on. So I've got my little nail nose pliers, you know, laying on it to kind of balance it out. But it should be dry here in a minute. So, well, you get the idea. I want them corners to flush up as good as possible so you don't have to use a whole bunch of wood filler and not look quite as good. I got well, it's the back of a plaque that's really good and flat. And I'll use that to bypass me putting the, you know, the little stoppers on the bottom. And be able to level my paneling and everything. So I've got that taken care of. Another one here. Try to hit them head on. It's probably better to do small taps. There you are. I got 3 of them. I might put 1 or 2 more. Now all we gotta do is worry about the sides. Look, that's a good match up top. You know they got tools for this, I think. That's pretty good right there. sure it all lines up real good. Make sure these corners are pretty darn good. Seems to be pretty good. Let's see what we got over here. Pull this out a little bit. Good thing about this pine, stuff goes in. Well, that'll pull up like that once I tap it in real good. Oops, didn't get that. Got me a little punch, and I'll try to get this where you can see it. I'll just get down here and put it right in the center of that little nail. And usually just pound it once or twice with a hammer. Corners flush, pretty good. A little bit of gap right in here, which I tend to do a lot for some reason. But I want to make sure at least the tops match up real good. You know, for these nail holes, I just get a little bit of this wood filler. It comes in different colors, but you put a dark stain on, it's probably not going to matter a whole lot anyway. And you just cover up your nail holes. Right here. Yeah, I got something that's not the same color as this pine, that's for sure. But you get that dark stain on there, it's gonna be okay anyway. You just get a little of this stuff on your finger. You can probably even use a little knife or modeling tool or something to really get into those, you know, definite spots that they're like super hard to get to. Probably use a little bit of a straight edge and get in there really good. Right down here, there's some. Try to be neat with it. You can put it in there first and then, you know, model it out of your whatever. But here's what I got for the corner. And we just do every side that way. Just kind of flush it in as good as you can. Now we go ahead and stain this guy. The brush almost too big. And then we let it dry, stain out. And we're going to gloss it, and it's going to really look good. You can stain the inside if you want. We're going to use a potting soil. I think it's the best bet. I have used mache, even foam. You know that foam you put in, and then put adhesive on it, and I'm still not 100% sure what we're going to do there, but we're going to do some stuff there. So let that stuff soak into the wood, this pine. Give it a really good color. Just want to go ahead and stain a little on the inside, right? And in the meantime, the Bobcat's drying real good, and I'm watching it as it dries. It's not no octagon base or anything like that, but it'll still look pretty good. Not perfect, but it'll look good enough. I'll go ahead and get a coat in here, and why not? Now you can't even tell the nail holes already almost. After it gets gloss and another layer of this, I think I'm going to put another layer, and you'll never even see where the wood filler went over those nail holes. I've got my Minwax clear gloss, polyurethane. It shines good enough for me. I've also got some of that Envirotex. It's really good for stuff like this. But I may use that on my fish a little bit later. But it's literally this easy. You just put it on. Make sure everything shines up real good. Now a lot of times, your local woodworking shops, they are set up for the taxidermist. And you're supporting your local economy that way too. You know, local businesses. A lot of local wood shops, you know, that are wood companies, you know, that make plaques and stuff. They have all this stuff. And you just walk right in and buy them. And it's solid wood, and it's not synthetic wood, which is even better. Well, it looks like we got about 4 inches. Yeah, it looks like about 4 inches on both sides. Maybe a little more, about 4 1/4 looks like. We've got, I'm going to put on this big old piece of wood. I was going to use it for some ducks, but that's all right. It's over 4 inches, so that'll be good enough. What we're going to do is probably bolt this in real good, then drill our holes for our nuts to go up through. And I think that's what we're going to do. Oh, it looks like also the width from the middle of each side is exactly 4 1/4. So that's easy enough. 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. I've got a cedar. It was cut in half. I've had it for a while. And I know the screw holes are like 4 1/4, and this is only like not even 4 inches in its highest spot. And his legs are going to be 4 1/4 inches apart. So I kind of want to center the piece of wood. And the piece of wood is about, looks like 6 1/2. So I figure 6 1/2, about 3 1/4. It comes about right in here. Okay. Comes up, yeah, about right here. Okay. We don't have to be super specific on this. I want to be level with my base though. The wood piece is slightly off, but so we figure this is about the center. And we got 4 1/4, so about 2 1/8. It goes out about right here. First hole go about right here. Okay. Cedar's cutting pretty easy considering it's cedar, surprisingly. Oh yeah, my drill bit's a little bit more than 4 1/4, so I actually got enough to go through both pieces of wood, which is good. It'll be just short enough where I can just put the nuts on the bottom. And that wasn't really pre-planned, it just happened to come out that way. Okay, so we figured the other one is about 4 1/4 from that, so it would be 4 1/4 would be right. We figure from there, where it should be about right here. Yeah, right here. And you can eyeball it and get really close, it don't matter. My drill bit is slightly bigger, but not a lot bigger. That way it's not going to be tilting forwards, or you're not going to have problems with an oversized hole and all that junk. I want my Bobcat straight, so I'm going to put the holes as close to the center as I can. Kind of use this as a straight edge here, see what's going on. Yeah, about right there, yeah, that'll work. That's good enough right there. There we are. Now we can get our cat and put it on there and get 1 washer a piece. You got to remember there's a nut on there. At the very end there's a nut. And the nut keeps it from going higher up the foot than what it needs to go. So I left it on there. Unfortunately, these things get stuck together sometimes. These go on the bottom of the Bobcat's feet. Oh, they're not going to have no room. Hold on. I guess I could have finished him out while he was on his base, but I didn't. That's okay. Yeah, he's not touching, so he's almost touching, but he's not. I should have enough bend in this that, even though I'm a little bit off, that it'll fit. Washers are getting locked on the teeth on this thing. Okay, hold on. You know what? I don't need the washers. They're causing that much trouble. I don't need them. I got the nut under there. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to wrap the holes out a little bigger. Be a lot less trouble. It's a little bigger drill hole, but apparently not big enough. Go back to my drill and drill these suckers out a little bit better. Drill these holes out a little bit bigger. Good enough. This could be one reason they didn't go through all the way. Maybe they were trying to go through all the way. Okay. The washers weren't helping. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah, we got to put them through right here. Come on, kitty. Sink on down. There we are. There it's coming. Just catches on every little piece of wood there. Just trying to go down. Well, since having trouble, I'm just going to cinch it down with the nut that goes on there and just draw it up so we get past those wood pieces. And plus, that means also I don't have to widen my hole anymore. So that'll work. So I'm just using this just to torque it down to the piece of wood, then I back the nuts back off. Put it on, put it to the plywood, go up underneath with the nuts and the washer, and then he's secured. Yeah, just going to back these now where I think they look pretty good, and then take the nuts back off. I'll get back with you after I do that. Well, that shouldn't be near as much trouble. getting it to go through these holes. Let's see what we got here. Here we are. Please, please, please. Okay. Let's see. There we are. There we are. Now let me scoot it this way. But what it is so I don't have to do any, really any dremeling or anything. Or I mean, I don't have to, what I'm getting at, if I did have to cut some off, make sure your nut is above where you cut it off. That way, you know, you don't have to worry about having a hard time getting your nut back on. You know, if you have to cut some of some of that threaded bar that went through the foot, if you have to cut some of that off, at least have the nut above it. And then if you do have to back it out, you know, and he wants to take the Bobcat off, a lot of times it'll kind of re-thread it a little bit when you take the nut off, and it'd be less apt to like be boogered where you can't put a nut back on it. Also, when you do cut, try to cut good and clean. That way you're not going to mess the threads up as bad. That is, if you even have to. And a lot of times, the very things that you get, you know, when you get them from the supply company, I have been known to cap them back on the end. I mean, they were put there for a reason, you know, to kind of protect the threads a little bit, also to kind of probably protect somebody's fingers. Well, it's no problem to slip these back on the ends, just like it was when you got it. And if anything, it helps protect it a little bit. You see, now I've got the nut sticking through the bottom. All I gotta do is put the nut on here and this and tighten it back up. Then if he wants to take it apart to move it, then we can do that too, because it's not permanently affixed. In other words, it can be unscrewed and taken off. And then also we're going to go ahead, shoot some screws to the bottom so that piece of wood don't go nowhere. And that's basically that simple. I'll go ahead and get the other one, tighten it up real good, and I'll show you what we do next. Well, I figured I'd show you what's going on. Now all I gotta do is tighten these nuts down, and see, it's got a washer on there too, and what it'll do, it'll cinch the Bobcat down to the piece of driftwood. And I shimmed the driftwood up a little bit so I wouldn't have to worry about cutting off any with a hacksaw and running into threading issues and all that stuff. And this is all going to be topsoil anyway, and that's not a big enough gap where it's even going to show. And what I'll do, I'll just glue my plastic plants around, throw my topsoil in there, and my base habitat will be done. And what I'm going to do is shoot some screws up from underneath. And it don't even have to be super sharp with it, because basically all you got to do is eyeball it and try to center your screws and put like 3 or 4 up through here. And they're going to shoot up through the wood into the driftwood and cinch it down where it's not going to go anywhere. So that's what I got going on. Now just put 2 or 3 or 3 or 4, how many you want to put, screws up to the bottom. I tend to use long ones, you can use medium sized ones. And you just eyeball, go right up the middle. Let's go right up the middle with it. There you go. That's enough for me. Maybe put plastic plants in your topsoil litter. Maybe put another gloss to make the base shine a little bit better. But we're done with that. Now what we got to do is finish him out. Or finish the habitat, whichever you want to do. Now we can go ahead and start fixing up the habitat everywhere we see fit. If you feel like it needs a leaf, right here, just hold it and put it on. Just glue your plants in and just put potting soil in around it. You might could drill a hole in the, into the wood or something, and so you don't have to hold it so long. But yeah, if it's easier than holding, I don't see why a person couldn't, like maybe staple one in or something. That's a good spot for one. Well, you gotta hit it first. Here we are. There we are. At the very least, it'll hold it so you can glue it. You can throw a little glue on there. Hell, maybe not. But you get the idea. Prop the plant up to something and then start gluing another piece on. Can you put lichens on this guy? Put it in strategic spots, like maybe where it would be. That's pretty strategic. There's another piece of a lichen right here. We're good about right here. Put your Spanish moss on there or whatever if you want to. Here's a pretty good piece of moss. Found you a good spot for it. Just lay it on there. There's a good spot. Good enough. I think I'll wait before I put the potting soil in it because I still got to kind of blow dry his legs. Kind of fluff them up. I forgot to do that. And we just start taking out all the pins. He's ready to get finished. And that's what we're going to do. Still going to do a little blow drying, so I'm not going to put any potting soil in right now. It'll be the last thing I do. So getting out all the pins on the body, everywhere. Everywhere you got a pin, go ahead and take it out. Got a bunch in the legs, everywhere. Take them all out of the face. Take these little nose wires out. So just get that done. Take all the pins out. And we'll start finishing. And just like on everything, the same on the closed mouth Bobcat, except I'm just gonna do the mouth. I'm rubbing out all that preservative out of the ears. A lot of this will blow out too, you know, down in the ear with your airbrush. It'll blow a lot of it out. Probably help it on the other side. Go ahead and brush the ears a little bit, fluff them up. Yeah, the blow dryer will get a lot of this stuff out. Definitely. But my main concern is the get some of this excess stuff out of the mouth. I fluff the hair up a little and around the face. Blow dryer will do it too here a little bit later. Well, as before with a closed mouth, same thing with the eyes. I just put a little lacquer thinner on there with a Q-tip, and it kind of softens it up. And we start trying to do what we can to shape our eyes back up by using epoxy sculpt or whatever. Just cut that old glue off. And lacquer thinner helps a lot with that. Getting that stuff off. Usually you can get under it and kind of peel it off. And comes off pretty good. You just get under it and pop it up. Should just pop right up. Now there's some stuff that was got on the eyelids, but I didn't use killer glue on these eyelashes. It's just Mod Podge, and that stuff's rubbery enough. Heck, it doesn't even take the eyelashes off. It comes off the eyelashes, but it doesn't take them off, which is good. Something like super glue or something, you know, when it gets hard, it'll pull eyelashes and all off. So I guess what I'm getting at is I didn't want the eyelashes going backwards, you know, going up and back. Or, you know, they tend to raise up when they dry. And so I used Mod Podge on there to kind of hold them in place. And it worked. So I'm digging off killer glue, Mod Podge, and some instances a little bit of clay even, like from the eyelids, what have you. Well, this is just like what I've done on the closed mouth as far as the eyes. So I'll get back with you a little bit later. Just kind of hacking some of that stuff out. Now, just like before, I've got my 2-part epoxy. Okay, just like before. Filling these gaps around the eyes. And I'm going to use reference pictures too to remodel the kind of the shape of the outer part of the eye. Did some serious cutting. The skin pulled away quite a bit in places. It was a thick-skinned old cat. So, but I'm filling gaps in, and then doesn't hurt to have some kind of setup where you don't have to keep picking up your reference picture and looking at it. So I may end up using one of my deer head stands and just for a picture to put on it, just so I have something, you know, where I can look at it and not be always having to pick it up and look and drop it and all that stuff. And my glasses are going to come off. I'm sure of that. Make sure you got plenty of epoxy sculpt around that eye before you start doing all the, I guess the final sculpting, I guess is the right word. And we're going to rebuild a little bit of this lower lip and kind of went in, but there is a little bit of a buildup of this lower lip. And it's not wrong to go ahead and put it in there. You kind of get the idea. Go ahead and get this guy looking like something before we start painting the mouth and all that stuff. Now both eyes kind of got out of shape as they dried. And so I'm having to reincorporate the shape back in with the epoxy sculpt. So that's kind of what's going on right now. But it's all going to be painted dark brown, or a person could even use black if they wanted to. But same goes for the mouth. Person would use black on that, but I use dark brown. Now make sure you got to get a reference picture on hand before you start doing your modeling. First thing I'll do is Q-tip lacquer thinner on it and make sure that's kind of melted in there so it's not going to fall out. Okay, let's start modeling. We'll do one eye then the next. Overall, it looks pretty good, I think. At least portions of it right through here. Down through here, it goes up and almost around. So it almost does this. So kind of does that. Well, you can see I'm using a reference picture. I'll show you what I got when I'm done. Okay, now I got to get these nostrils. The eyes ain't gonna look like much until they're painted, and they're gonna be dark brown. There's like some serious gaps. I can hear where the nose is, and I just fill those gaps in. And all that's gonna be painted black in there anyway, so I'm not gonna worry about like trying to do a lot of dremeling and stuff. Just gonna smoothen everything up and let it ride. It'll be good enough for me. Other side the same way. Make sure that inside corner is good and filled in. Yeah, it looks like it is. I might even do a little bit of rebuilding here. See how this nostril looks good? On this side, it's kind of caved in where it's just dried up. So I may go ahead and rebuild that. There we go. Just kind of rebuild that nostril on that side. And this stuff gets hard. It really gets hard. And just pretty much means that you can paint over it and everything. You go in there and be sure everything's all smoothed out. Usually don't take much. And it's going to get painted black anyway. So that looks pretty good. Rebuild this nostril out here. It kind of caved in where it dried up. That looks pretty good. Get it to match the other side. And it does. Get this side right here. All that's done good, and it is. Stuff is so soft. I could even use this Q-tip to get everything to line up. There we are. Now we're going to rebuild the lower lip. Now for this lower lip, basically what I'm wanting to do, if you look at a reference picture, you can see it. If you look, you can see it kind of comes, yeah, you probably can't make it out. It's not this outer lip that comes around, it's the inside that comes around. So it's this right here that I gotta build. I gotta build up the, there's like an outer part of the lip that, you know, kind of comes up by the teeth and around through there. I'll show you what I mean. It ain't got to be much. I mean, it's, in fact, I was debating whether to do it, but it's correct. And I used to mount my stuff and not have to worry about even using this junk, so. It's good to have this stuff. You know. Sticking to my gloves. Guess that means you gotta use a little lacquer thinner. I dropped it. Okay. Well, there's plenty more where that came from. Okay, let me get my knife. See, it comes off of that. Wants to stick to my knife. Yeah, my glove. Okay, this comes around through here. This stuff is too gooey or something. Put too much lacquer thinner in it. No, I gotta rebuild it. It comes around right here. Basically like that. That's pretty much it right there. Use my X-Acto knife to kind of get everything in place. This may take a while. You start sticking to my knife. I'll try to use it if I can here. I may have to mix some more up, but I hope not. Okay, there's that. Here we are with that. Here we are with this. Here we are with this. You can kind of get what's going on though. That's going to be good enough. It's going to be good enough for me anyway. Right there. Just wanted to build up that ridge. I use a Q-tip or something to kind of soften it up if I can. It may not let me. We go run through here. It goes through there. It goes through there. Let's see, how can I get in there? Try to go in here and model it a little bit. Oops. That's pretty much it. Looks like it kind of extends off the lip. That's kind of what I got. Now we're going to wait till everything dries and, oh well, I got this I've got I've got a little crack right here on this foot. Go ahead and use your epoxy sculpt and fix those holes. Probably going to put another one in this because I still got to put my quail on here. But that's alright. I may actually leave that hole. There's a little hole in there. I think I'll use that hole to attach my quail. Save me a little trouble. We get this other one. Sometimes you can get some latex caulk in there. That looks okay. I just paint it black. Yeah, you can use latex caulk and just smoothing it over. And we're just going to wait till it dries just a little bit before we start painting it. Oh yeah, if you feel like you got epoxy any up in here, you can, but if somebody tries to look, they'll still have a hard time finding anything. So I'm not gonna worry about it. I got the tongue independent, so if I felt like I needed to, I could spray the very back of the throat by moving the tongue and just use my dark brown to get back in there and darken it up a little. I tell you what, you can't really see anything anyway unless you're really, really looking. So I think it's good to go. First thing I like to do is just use the airbrush to get a lot of the stuff out of the ear. Good for blowing that stuff out. Maybe even some in the mouth. See that coming out? Look at that, even on the ears. Wow. Here too. It tends to seem like it works better than an actual blow dryer, really. Now they always want you to put a little bit of base coat sealer on everything. So that's what I'm going to do. Even on the bottom of the paws. Even around the eyes. And the white part around the eyes. You don't want to put it on thick, it'll get gummy. But I guess you need to put it on there a little bit. So, just like a good base for it, a good base for it. Pretty much everywhere you're going to paint. Now it goes on kind of wet looking, but it will dry eventually. And even inside the mouth here. But yeah, you don't want to go on too hard. It gets kind of gummy and all that stuff. So pretty much anywhere you're going to paint. Okay, now our first color is going to be white. Okay, the first color is white. I don't like thinning this color down too much because, now first I'll do just like I would a deer or anything. I'll take it, up as high as I can in these places. Let's see. Go ahead and put it in the, a lot of times I see white on them, so I go ahead and whiten the inside of the ears. I don't thin it down much because it starts looking weird. It tries to build up around the base of the hair and it really starts looking odd. And I guess the base coat seal, if you put it on too thick, it's going to do the same thing. The good thing is the rich brown matches all this real good. So if I did get a little too heavy or something with the color, that'd still be good. Let's see. Go ahead and do this ear too. Basically just the part that's kind of a dead look where it's dried out. That's all I'm hitting with this white. I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on the closed mouth on these ears now. So it's not any different, nothing new. And you want that paint to go past the hair onto the ear itself. And that's why I don't thin it down here. If you thin it down, it really starts looking pretty bad. That's good enough. Also try to get along the right along here. It's actually more of a rich brown look, I think, than anything. But if you got some damage, it's a good way to hide it. You just kind of tone that stuff in a little bit. Okay, now we go to our next color. I think rich brown would be good to tone in some of this white a little bit. Now I've got a little bit of rich brown. Hold on, let me do a little bit of brush work. Forgot forgot to do this. Sometimes you get a little lacquer thinner on a Q-tip, and any overspray from preceding colors like white, a lot of times you can get it off some of these hairs and bring some realism in before you apply your next coloring. You can even use a toothbrush and just kind of, or just like rub really good. Kind of like sometimes you can do this and bring some of your color back out, literally just brushing the hair back out. And sometimes that paint will just come right off. If you even have paint on it like that. So it just brings everything back like it was. Now I can apply my rich brown. I like to go in along not the inside hairline, but close to it, about right in there. Same with the other side. Doing everything just like I did on the closing out. I'm just doing this basically because, well, I have to. I mean, it's got to be done anyway when I'm getting done. Now, here as far as around the eyes, I go ahead and get that back like it was. No darker, no brighter. And so I think I've done that. I'm going to go ahead and get the nose. What I got here is kind of a mixture of flesh and orange. And basically trying to match that nose kind of color on this panther. Bobcats tend to be about the same color. I've seen them purple. I've seen them too red, too orange, too much fleshy looking. So I've just tried to kind of come up with a happy medium. And what it is flesh and orange. And it's on my other video too. Probably better just to stay up here on top and not even go up in there that much. Oh well. Just don't want it too fleshy looking or too orange looking. I think I got pretty close to what I kind of want. put it on once. I want to put it on heavier up on top. Now a lot of times I put that dark line in up top with my dark brown, but it looks like it's noticeable enough. I may just leave it like it is, you know, without having to repaint it back in, which is pretty neat. You can kind of see the orange kind of coming through a little bit. I may not have mixed my paint good up enough. It come out flesh first, now it's coming out more like what I wanted. Oh well. It's not really orange, not really flesh, but it's got a little bit of both. Perfect match for mouth work sometimes, depending on what you're painting. A lot of people go with deep red and just black for the mouth. Get this real good here. Back over here, sorry. There we are. I like this. That's enough for the nose. Now go ahead and use this same color. Go ahead and give a little bit of a fleshy look, although it has some orange. I use it to kind of fix the ears up a little bit. Just kind of tell me where I need to put it. Ooh. I need to back down on my paint just a hair. Okay. There we are. All this is basically getting painted back almost like it was, but not such a dead look to it. And it goes all the way out here even. Pretty much anywhere there's not hair, you might want to go over this. If you get a lot of hair, don't even worry about it. Right here. I'll probably end up brushing some of this out anyway. Oh, yes. That's looking pretty good. Once that gets it a little, you can see we get it all up through here. It kind of fades out. That's kind of what you're looking at right there. Just a little misting operation. And then the same thing with the other ear. You can't go too heavy with it. I think I did a little bit. Pretty much that right there, that's all. Okay. You way down the ears now if you want to. You get painted dark brown anyway, or black, I mean. Okay, that's it for that. Unless you want to do some, maybe some inner mouth work somewhere. I would go really, gotta proceed with caution, that's for sure. touch those gums back there. I don't know if showing. Next color is going to be dark brown. I'm going to go ahead and straighten some stuff up here. Okay, I got like a thinner on the Q-tip, and I just want to make sure I got some of this hair colored and see how it's coming out on the Q-tip. I'm just getting it off the hair for a more realistic effect. Not getting onto the skin of the ear, but I'm definitely getting over the hairs. Trying to bring out the natural color of the hairs. It's real easy to color the hairs, for sure. And it don't take much, just see how that's coming off of the different colors. It's bringing all that stuff off the hairs. It's doing what it's supposed to do. There's little streaks of hair that runs to the ear, and that's where I run my Q-tip. Right along those streaks of hair, so I stay off this, the skin parts. Okay. Get it. Get your Q-tip wet, roll it one time on a paper towel so it doesn't saturate everything. There's pink right along top of the nose. Went over this before. I may go ahead and paint that dark streak in there again. It seems like it looks better when you outline it. All this gets outlined with a thin streak of dark brown. And of course any overspray we do just like we're doing with this. I'm rolling it away from it, but I'm getting as close as I can to it. And I'm not worried so much. All this is going to be dark down here in the bottom. But you kind of see what's going on there. So that just kind of takes it off. No sweat. It just comes right off. See how we already straightened it up? That easy. I might want to, I gotta go ahead and get that ear too. Roll it one time in your paper towel. Get all the hair that's colored. You're gonna, overspray. You're accidentally gonna paint hair. I got hair painted accidentally right here. Just rub my Q-tip over it. Bring the natural color of the hair back out. Let me go all the way down inside the ear with it like this. Right here, there's some hair coloration issues. And claws will get you every time. Okay, right here there's some hair color issues. Go right along these streaks of hair and bring that hair back out. Bring it back to its original color. Right up to here. That's to there. Right here. Or it doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, get what you can, what you feel like you can't really get. I wouldn't worry about it. I can definitely come up. This can definitely come up. That's pretty good. Went back to my rich brown to tone some of this stuff in a little bit. Just the outer edge of the ears, you know, about the last, oh gosh, I don't know, quarter to 3/8 of an inch of the back part of the ear. I took some of that color out and I'm just putting it back in. I guess you could even tone the inside of the ear if it's too light or something. You can tone it down. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay, all that's toned in good. Now, I'm going to dark brown. Okay, now I've got my dark brown. And I'm going to trim these ears, but just right on the outer edge. I mean, where you can barely even see it, but yeah, there's a trim in there. You take it all the way down to the top of the head right there. And right here, trim it all the way, just the very outer extremity. Oh yeah, all the way. You just want to be able to see it. You just want to touch it. Touch the outside of the ear. Just want to see it. Oh, just want to touch it. Like that. And you do that. That come out pretty good, didn't it? Touching the very outer extremity there. Same thing on this ear. Just the very outer extremity. You want to just touch it. You can see it being touched. I'm trying on my airbrushes in the light. Oh, yeah, you just want to touch the outer extremity. There you are. Very good. Maybe you straighten it up a little back here. You know, if you got places that aren't black but should be. Straighten it up right here. Looking good over here. Black or dark brown, either one. This is dark brown. are. Go ahead and get your paint adjusted where it's barely coming out, and some of that's black right there, or not really solid black, but there is some blackness right here. Tends to go like that. Now go ahead and darken the deepermost inner part of the ear. I'm careful to move all the hair. Now go ahead and just darken it. Not super dark, just dark enough to make it look like it's a shadow down in there. And it is. It's a shadow. It's what it is. Basically, I want to tone anything that looks a little unnatural. I might add a little bit of dark brown to it, just kind of tone everything in. Now's a good time to use a reference picture. I'll go back to my good old trusty reference picture. See the black right in here. So I've already kind of replicated that sort of. And let's see. Right in there is real dark. Tends to get light right up in here. Tends to be dark right in there. Kind of fades around. Alright, that's about it right there. That's a pretty close match. The same thing to the other ear. Right in here tends to get a little bit dark. A little shading going on right in here. Tends to be a little bit of blackness right in here shows up. Maybe just a hair right through there. So that's kind of what we got. Alright, right there. That's good enough for me. Okay. The eyes. Basically, you just, everything that's already dark, you just re-darken it. And I've got issues with this thing that leaks out, and then you have to re-prime it. Could be water in the line. Could be a number of things causing it. I think my diaphragm's busted. You just need your air pressure down where you need it to be, and right in here get everything. All that epoxy sculpt, everything is getting I'm just darkening what was already dark. And then of course I did some rebuilding with the dark brown. Right here, this inside corner, it gets and you have to get different angles. Make sure you hit everything. Now, I'm more concerned about you being able to see what I'm doing pretty much more than anything. And that's not the best way to do it. Okay. Get all that. Nothing saying you can't use a brush. You use a brush a million times. You may use it on the mouth here or something. It's quite possible. My other option was to finish him out before I even put him on the base so I could pick him up and turn him however he needs to be turned and all that good stuff. Of course, I didn't do that. I'm probably going to have to deal with a little overspray. That's all right. That's okay. Always do anyway. There we are. I'll go ahead and okay, I tend to go right up the middle like that. Now let's see, look at my reference picture. See how it does it on the nose as well. Good. You gotta reprime it. You always have to reprime for some reason. Okay. That's about how it is right there. Inside the nostrils, get it real good and dark. Both nostrils, get it real good. Okay, there we are. Reprime it again. And then go back down. That's definitely a serious issue with my hairbrush here. Now, a lot of times I'll repaint that stripe up top, but I see it pretty good. I don't even know if I want to mess with it. I'm not even going to mess with it. It looks pretty good just like it is. But you can see it like a little strip of brown that goes right across the top of the nose. You can see it on this one even better. Now if I wanted to add a little bit of shading to it, like from a distance you could, they do have a little shading. I mean, it's not just real bright is what I'm getting at. There we are. Perfect. Now what we can do, we can trim around all this. But I'm going to go ahead and get the mouth while I'm at it. I'm sure he's still in the camera. But you can use a brush on this too. And I may still opt for a brush around the teeth. I'm gonna see what I can get with this. Now remember, we can move this tongue way over if we want to. If we feel like we gotta get back in there. Well, that's not working too good. Well, basically, I'm staying away from the teeth as much as possible. A lot of this, I gotta probably need to put the Bobcat up before I get to some of this stuff. But I'll get what I can with airbrush. That tongue back where it was at. Now the gums on these Bobcat a lot of times they're real brown anyway. I mean, just like you can paint everything almost as dark brown or black and it'd be perfect. And there again, glossing sometimes kind of just brings it back, takes all that white powdery residue, kind of neutralizes that white powdery residue and makes things a little bit darker. See, I can move this tongue over on this side a little bit if I need to, or back it up, or whatever I want to do. I'm at the inside corner of the mouth, darkening all that with my dark brown. Getting what I can see from here. Okay, so I pretty much got everything darkened up that's dark on this guy. Get the inside corner of the mouth on both sides. Move that tongue out of the way if you can. Paint all that up in there dark. Dark brown. Gotta reprime it and go back down. All that gets dark brown. All that gets brown back in there against that corner of the mouth. Now some of this I'm going to have to prop him up real high and get what I can from up underneath to make it look good. Now as far as the bottom of the paws, yeah, I'll do that right now. Get up real high where you can see everything. Well, from here you can see I painted all that inside dark brown. Pretty much the inner lip. Try to stay off the teeth. You can get a Q-tip and brighten your teeth back up. Q-tip and lacquer thinner, which is what I'll probably do. But you notice everything is so dark you can't see back there anyway. So I'm not worried about a depth issue. But there is a piece right here on this side that needs to be darkened up. I'll show you. Well, it doesn't show much. But right back in here between this first big dagger tooth, big canine tooth or whatever, and then the next one, it's not been painted, but it's real dark anyway. Up here underneath, up here in front, it's not been painted. I'm going to try to hit that with my airbrush or just a brush. Either way. I don't want to try to be too messy with it, but I just got me a regular old brush. Maybe easier said than done, but I'm trying to just, well, you can see. Just trying to run my paintbrush up in there. Get everything that I could get with an airbrush. You know what, this is, it's harder to do with this than it is with an airbrush. Let me see about right here. Really get it with an airbrush. But whatever works best for you if you got a small enough brush. Oops. Come back with my airbrush. Oops. All this up underneath in here. All that's good and dark. All that's good and dark. That's pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to start trying to straighten stuff up. And glue the tongue down and all that stuff. Oh, almost forgot. Go ahead and get your feet with this color too. Go ahead and darken all this stuff up. You know, after you, fix any gaps and stuff with whatever you like to use. I'll make sure to get all these little, right behind the toe there's a little bit extra padding. Get them good and make them good and dark. You know, don't miss any corners. Get that good and dark. This is going to have a bird on it anyway. Same thing with this foot. Now the other feet are covered, you know, because he's leaping off the logs. And yeah, they'll never even see none of that stuff. Okay, now we'll do some straightening up on the mouth. Now I've got a Q-tip with some lacquer thinner on it, and I want to, at least for now, you know, control some of the overspray. Some of it looks pretty natural. I mean, their teeth are dark anyway. But anything that doesn't look right, I'll go ahead and take it off with a Q-tip and lacquer thinner. It just brightens everything right back up. But you figure these Bobcat, they're so small, a lot of this stuff you can't really hardly see anyway. I'm brightening the tongue back up. Probably ought to go ahead and glue that sucker back in even. Brighten at least the tips of these teeth and back up again. You know, if you can at least make out the tips of the teeth, go ahead and brighten them suckers back in up front. Now, it's not wrong to have dark gums on these guys. So I'm going to brighten up these teeth up underneath. You can't see them, but they're the small ones up front. I'm running my Q-tip over the top of them. Not doing the gums, just the tip of the teeth. And it really looks natural. Up here, a little bit on these teeth right here. Just the tips of them. I'll scoop my thing over so I can get to them. There we are. These teeth under here are kind of bright anyway. That don't look natural. Let me get that off. Just one of the teeth here. There we are. Now you can yellow these teeth up a little bit. They are yellow. I mean, a lot of them, at least the bigger ones. Not so much of this cat, but they do have a little bit of yellow on them. You can tint them with a little bit of yellow. That's what I'll do. Well, as you can tell on this cat, this is actually not a Bobcat, but the Bobcat did have yellow teeth. And so you can, the tips of them are still white, but see how they get yellow towards the gum? And just incorporating all that stuff in there. Okay, we got some yellow ochre here. Bright yellow, I usually use bright yellow, but I figured I'd try yellow ochre because it's already, well, it's naturally dark. And I figured I'd hit these teeth. Not so much the very tips. No, just to give it a little color. Go ahead and do these other ones too. At least get the front ones, you know. Not so much the bottom, you know, of course, but I mean, not so much the top, a little bit the bottom. Same with the upper ones. At least do these front ones. This one right here has already got a little bit of dark brown on it. Looks pretty good. Don't need to be solid white, you know what I mean? And yeah, even up in here looks really good. Oh yeah. Take some of these other ones. pretty good. This one you can kind of see, I'm gonna get it a little bit more yellow. I like that, that's good. A bit of yellow ochre like that, and then maybe just a touch, you know, just a little bit of a touch with the dark brown at the base of the teeth. I've actually got a little bit of gilled red that's thinned down a whole lot, just so I don't accidentally put it on too heavy. And I mean, really thin. This is just like one drop. But I do see hints of red on these teeth towards the gum line, especially the gum line. There we are. Get down there. Yeah, just like that. Just little hints around the base. You know, at least do the. Or at least do these two big ones here. I do these that way anyway. At least those. We're just kind of tinting the yellow, making it almost like an orange, I guess is the right word. That looks pretty good, just like that. Maybe a little hint to some of these. Whatever I can see. There we go. Perfect. Kind of help tone that tongue in a little bit too, where it's been painted, or the lacquer thinner's been on it, so that helps. And think about that. Yeah, that's really making that tone look nice. Okay. Now we touch it up with a little bit of dark brown. You probably can't even tell it, but yeah, there's a little bit of red on there now. And now I've got a little dark brown, and I got a really, I'm just gonna, like at the base, just kind of darken up the bases on some of these. Not even make it definitely, see, I'm just kind of darkening it in. Same with up here. Just want to make things look natural. Kind of like at the base of the teeth where they eat the gum. That's pretty much all I'm hitting. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and gloss him and glue the tongue down. Okay, I've also got a little bit of, got my dark brown still. Seen some little padding back here. See a little padding, go ahead and paint him up. Now we're ready to clean the eyes off and gloss and all that good stuff. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clean the eyes off. And it looks like I got some paint on the whiskers. I always tend to for some reason. Because I paint with a bowl. And I'm always dropping paint. clean these eyes off as good as I can with a Q-tip. Then I go back with my X-Acto knife and get right up to the very edge of what I painted. And it just scrapes right off. Just make sure your knife's got a good point on it. Yep, it's coming right off, going right to the very outer edge. I'm going to go ahead and get this done and show you what I got. I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of these whiskers. Yeah, I got the brown paint on them. That's alright, it should just come right off. I'm going to pull the whiskers out, of course, but just clean them up as good as you can now. Just right here on the end, but I'm a little bit messed up here. Let's see. Oh, that's good enough for me. These are actually brown, naturally brown. See, they got them on both sides. So. Good enough for me. Now, you're not getting a good view of it. You're getting kind of like a downward, upward view. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue the tongue down. Got a little bit of glue. Don't want to get too close. Just going to put a little. There we are. Yeah, some of this stuff is pretty bad. It's got like spider webs and all kinds of weird stuff. There you are. And then you get the excess, try to get it off, that's for sure. This stuff gets everywhere, it's messy. And it ain't got to be this kind of glue either, it could be just regular glue. Anything that's might be easier to work with than this, that's for sure. But you get the idea. Uh-oh, we glued wrong. It was supposed to glue right in there. It's a little bit off. Let me try this again. Produces too many spider webs. What I give for a little bit of wood glue. I've got some Gorilla Glue, but I don't like the way it works. At all. Now this will go right here. There we are. No muss, no fuss. And some of the glue sticks themselves harden so quick you don't have time to use it. Okay. There we are, good enough. Oh, that's good and hard, like it's supposed to be. Good. Okay, that'll work. Okay, now we go ahead and gloss the mouth of our cat and the eyes and everything else. I've got my gloss. Just want to make everything look nice and wet. The nose. The mouth. You know, even this lip on that outer. The teeth. Everything. The gums. The tongue. Just go ahead and get it all good and glossed up. Nice looking. I don't know about you, but it looks good to me. Make sure you go ahead and get the paws as well. Make sure you get your paws. Get that real good. Get all those paddings. Everything you painted. Go ahead and get all that. Oh yeah, get the fingernails. Get them nice and glossy and shiny looking. All it takes is just a second with your gloss top coat. And I think I might have already showed you, but well, I know I showed you on the clothes now. Just make sure you get all these paws everywhere you painted dark brown earlier. All that padding. Make sure you get it. These claws, go ahead and give them a good glossing. And you get all these claws real good. This is my second time on these. Get them good and wet and shiny looking. Let's see what else. Yeah, to get this one. I didn't get this one. Maybe I did. Wouldn't get all the little pads. There's one for every toenail. Okay. Well, he's by far not perfect, but I think I like it. He's got his claws and everything, and got a nice, good-looking mouth. Here's a close-up of the mouth. There's a lip I actually built up, which is, it's normal. If you look at your reference pictures, you'll see that. You'll see a little bit of yellow, even maybe a touch of red on these fangs. And Well, hopefully you can kind of see, well, too much glare. See how the mouth is, and try to replicate it. So that's kind of what I got going on. See, now all we got to do is, well, make sure you blow dry your cat all over. Make sure you get his feet, everything. See, before I put the topsoil and all that stuff in, I'm gonna go ahead and fluff his hair up. So I just put it on high and don't even really use warm or cold, either one's what I use. Put the tail up real good. All that inside there. Make sure his feet are good and fluffed up. You want to do is they'll fluff. And the inside legs. I got most of this, but as soon as I mounted him, I got most of it. Seems like you're less apt to see the incision. You're less apt to see the incision if you go ahead and do it before he dries. The hair wants to lay down, and I guess the follicles and everything kind of set that way. Oops. Make sure you get him good all over. Even these things on the side of his face. Use brushes. All that stuff. Everything. If you use the fluff, it's a good move. Make sure he looks even, you know, one side of his, I don't know what you call it, cheek hair to stick it out farther than the other if you can keep from it. Something I was sort of worried about when I mounted him, actually. I didn't want none of that to really take place, but you get the idea. Blowing real good. Get sure he's all fluffed up everywhere. Well, it looks good. Now I've got some potting soil. And preferably, it's good to get the kind that doesn't have the little white balls in it. But if you don't, that's all right too, because out in the wild, you're not going to see anything that's solid one color, you know what I mean? But it does look neat. But the white balls, you know, they could represent gravel or anything, you know, rock, you name it. This is just potting soil. It's cheap, so I'm not trying to be too sparing with it. It looks more like shavings or something, is what it looks like. Brush it off the base. Just a little dirt. Just make sure it's under the leaves, you know, the plants you put in. Kind of spread it around by hand. Kind of spread it around where you don't want nothing, none of the bottom of the base to show if you can keep from it, you know what I mean? There you go. Nice looking base. You want some of your lichens and stuff to last? You spray this base coat sealer and it'll keep them from cracking and disintegrating. They may change color, but you can get this stuff at Hobby Lobby too. You can get it in different colors, and it's a nice addition. I'm not sure if these really disintegrate. I've used base coat sealer, I've used leaves on my bases, and I'd always spray with base coat sealer. You kind of, that way if it starts to crack and disintegrate and fall apart, the base coat sealer will bond it together. I mean, it'll keep it bonded where it won't fall apart. And this is just an old pine cone. I figured it'd add a little. There you go. Now we got to install the quail. Well, I think what I want to do is probably about like this, towards the rear, so you kind of get a good view of the bird itself. But yeah, like almost towards the tail. I'm thinking I'm going to make him like this, kind of banking a little bit, so you get a little bit of the best, kind of a good angle. You can see his legs, you know, his legs will be sticking out real good right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jam this wire, let's see, through the rear of the bird, probably about right here. And let's see, we may have to do some preening again later. But I want to come through the, don't want to stab myself. That's always a possibility too. Oh, here we are. Okay, that come through. That'll work good enough right there. And this part, which was already in the bird earlier, I'm going to go back through the bird again. I want to make sure there's no feathers in the way. Kind of part these feathers. That's kind of right there. And then proceed to go forwards. And I think there's enough girth right there that he's not going to go all the way through. So now I just kind of I left a pin in here. I'll be darned. That stuff happens. Okay, then we preferably something like a pair of pliers or something. Shouldn't be any feathers in the way, I don't think. I don't think there's another, I don't think he's hooking on anything. I hope not. Let's see, let me see if I can help push it in somehow. That's good. That'll work. May have to repreen him again, but now this will go. I want him pretty close. Okay. And he's going to go in only so far, not super far. But before I do any clipping, I want to make sure I can get closer than that. I can even go yeah, like right here even. Yeah, like he's just touching it a little bit. And I got my Dremel tool. Dremel me a relatively deep hole. Now, I think I'm going to opt for the hot glue. But now I've got an idea how long I want to make my incision. So about right here. Somewhere in that range. Yeah, right there. Yeah, now what it's going to do, well, we're kind of trial fitting too, so that kind of helps. It's going to go in like that. There you are, just like that. And that's how we got it going on. Well, I ended up shooting some glue into the paw where I dremeled the hole. I stuck my bird down in there, and then I thought, well, I'll go ahead and hold it. And so I held it until it dried. I was going to show you, and then I thought, well, since I've already shot glue up in the hole, go ahead and hold the bird until he dries and just let you know. All I did was dremel the hole, shoot hot glue into the hole, stick my bird with the appropriate amount of wire, not too much, not too little, and let it bottom out to where his paw is actually touching. And so now we've got our bobcat with a quail attached. Well, this is kind of what we got. I think it looks pretty good. I think the eyes look okay. The jaw, the open mouth, the teeth, they got some color to them. I put some color on the teeth. I rebuilt the lip a little bit right there. Let's see, there's a wild hair. Okay. Rebuilt the lip, attached the quail, and can preen him a little bit. This is kind of what I got going on from this side. But, well, this is how I mount a leaping bobcat and how I do a base for it.